Shalom. First, I'd like to begin by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to teachers, elders, and apostles of Great Millstone, likewise, brothers, putting on this truth. Faithfully, fearlessly feeding the sheep, and to you, brothers and sisters tuning in. Shalom. Today's lesson is titled, There's Disquiet in Babylon. Now, let's take a look at that word disquiet, and it means a feeling of anxiety or worry. Verb, make someone worried or uneasy. And this is a spirit right now here in Great Babylon, America. Let's go into the book of Jeremiah 50, starting verse 31, before I bring out a video clip of the current events that's going on right now, something that's very critical, to the state of Great Babylon, America. And it reads, Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, said the Lord power of hosts. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee, and the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all about him. Thus said the Lord of hosts, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were pressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. And who are the children of Israel and who are the children of Judah? You have the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Both tribes, both kingdoms are here in Great Babylon, America, represented by so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Latinos. And we're being held captive by these Edomites. Their Redeemer is strong. The Lord of hosts, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, is his name. He should thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. Up until recently, you never ever saw Edomites crying about not being able to buy food, not being able to pay their bills, not being able to make ends meet, despite the fact that they're in these good paying jobs. And we're seeing more and more and more videos with these furious Edomites screaming and crying. Now, we know Jake's is screaming and crying also too, but that's less impactful, on your psyche in comparison to seeing these Edomites, because we're so used to being under their shadow, here in this society, that here it is, just as the scriptures foretold, these curses will now go on them. So I'm going to show you this video of this big beautiful bill that Trump came up with. That is a breakdown how it's explained how this bill is supposed to work. But you can see that the will of the Lord is against this place, so it's not going to work. Check it out.
From how the debt works to the debate over it right now, to look at what President Trump's budget bill, which he calls the big beautiful bill, means for the U.S. debt. Congressional correspondent Lisa Desjardins joins us now from the super screen to explain it all. So Lisa, if this passes, it would be the largest bill in dollar terms in U.S. history. Just kick us off with what the money involved is here.
Right. For Republicans, this is part of answering what they see as a potential crisis, the end of the Trump tax cuts. The question is this something that adds to a different potential crisis, an American debt crisis? So let's look at the money flow in this bill, and let's start with the tax cuts. First of all, Republicans are, in fact, adding some new tax cuts here. Those are the no taxes on tips, overtime, some benefits for seniors. These tax cuts are significant. However, they pale in comparison to the biggest cost in the bill. That is extending those Trump tax cuts. Altogether, the Congressional Budget Office says the tax cuts in this bill add up to $3.7 trillion. That's good news in that that's money taxpayers could keep, but it's also bad news because it comes out of the federal budget and potentially could add to deficits. So, did Republicans pay for this in the bill? According to CBO, no. The money saved in this bill from the cuts, the spending cuts, is $1.3 trillion. Now, this is a significant, historically large number of spending cuts. Healthcare cuts, we've been talking about Medicaid, green energy, student loans. This is a big number, but it is much smaller than the amount being spent here. So overall, Congressional Budget Office says this bill would add $2.4 trillion to the deficit, and that is even before you consider interest costs.
So, Lisa, Republicans argue that economic growth will help to pay for some of this, which is harder to forecast. But based on what we do know right now, what's their argument for why this won't add to the deficit?
Right, it's important because you're going to be hearing this from that. Republicans say, look at this biggest cost here, the extension of the Trump tax cuts. They say because these are the current tax rates, they argue it shouldn't be counted against the cost of the bill. So let's just go down this road with them for a second. If you take out the cost of extending the tax cuts, then indeed the math flips. And the money they're saving in this bill is more than what they're spending. So it would, in fact, be good for the deficit. However, this ignores the reality that this bill would, in fact, take all of this revenue out of the federal budget. It is significant in dollar terms. But this is also significant politically, and I'm going to explain to you why. Republicans want to pass this bill through something called budget reconciliation. To do that, they have to meet certain rules. One of them, they need a majority vote. That's what they want to get this through. But they also have to have a budget effect. That's clearly in here. But also, one of the rules is they can't increase the deficit over 10 years. So this argument that you take out the current Trump tax cuts is important politically as well.
Lisa, we saw Paul Solomon there take us through a big picture look at the debt. But what exactly does the trajectory look like right now? And also, what does it look like if this mega bill passes?
This is so important. Our debt right now is soaring. This is where we are currently. Right now, about 100% of GDP is where our debt is. And this is sort of the rough trajectory going up to 156% if we stay on our current track in the middle of this century. Here's what this bill would do according to the Congressional Budget Office. It would make this curve even more steep for the first few years, and then it would flatten out. Essentially, it just increases the debt curve, moves it up so we have an even higher percentage of debt to GDP.
Lisa, all the efforts we've seen from the president and Elon Musk to cut the size of government and government spending, how do those compare with the size of the deficit?
Right, it's so important. We've seen so much about this idea of cutting spending, cutting federal workers. But let's talk about what it actually means relatively. So here is our current deficit. I took the liberty of taking the $1.9 trillion, which is this year's deficit, and making it sort of visual so that each of these dots represents $10 billion. Elon Musk and Doge have said so far that they have saved $180 billion. Now, we know this is not verified, and we know some of it is actually unproven. But let's just go ahead and imagine that they did actually save $180 billion. Where does that compare? Look at that. It is just this much out of the entire deficit. They've also been firing federal workers. Now, let's talk about if you fired every single federal worker, it'd be about $270 billion that you would save. What does that get you? Just this much. One last thing, there's a rescissions package of immediate cuts that President Trump has put forth. We've talked about that. That would include the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. How much would that save? $10 billion, just one dot. So it's to say that as much as President Trump is trying to cut some spending, it really doesn't do that much to the deficit, at least not so far.
All right, Lisa Desjardins, thanks as always.
You're welcome.
And as you saw in that video, okay, in the end, it demonstrates that the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua is in control of everything. You see, the so-called white man, although he will try to repair his kingdom to try to make it last as long as he can, you know, he comes up with the lies, okay, comes up with the deceit. We can see right before our eyes, okay, their kings, okay, their leaders are clashing. There's a division here in Great Babylon, America, okay? They're not cooperating with each other. In fact, when we go into the book of Malachi 1 and 4, we can see, you know, these cave beasts, you know, because they are the proud that the Bible speaks of, you know, they boast in their ability, you know, to reinvent themselves, which is what we saw, how they changed the image of the prophets, you know, the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahshua, and the Son, the Mashiach, and, you know, making themselves to be, you know, the Lord's chosen people, which they're not. It says, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desert places. Thus said the Lord of hosts, Yahweh Shem Yahshua, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness and the people against whom the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua had indignation for forever. And you can see that all their brilliant people, all their brilliant finance people, their brilliant scientists, all their people, they can't get that depth down. In fact, what he's looking to implement is going to make it even worse in the short term. So where do you think that money has to come from? It has to come, okay, from the poor people. Okay, I'm going to show you a clip, an example, okay, of how this has impacted these individuals here in Great Babylon, America. Now you're going to see this white trash. You know, she's going to get up on the screen, and she's had several videos out there, and you can see how this is coming out. This is what, you know, Elon Musk was talking about when they was looking to get rid of all these people and scoop up the money and cut all these freeloading giveaways here in Great Babylon, America, in order to pay down this deficit to try to sustain or regain grounds here in Great Babylon, America. Check it out.
It's been 6 days since my food stamps were taken. Almost $10,000 a month in welfare benefits that I no longer have. My caseworker just called me. On top of losing everything and possibly, well, very likely not getting any of it back, I now have to pay back over $22,000 in welfare benefits. So now they're going to be garnishing our disability and my child support that I receive for my kids.
And as you can see right there, this is what this man is set up to do. Because not only has he oppressed the children of Israel, okay, which is the 12 tribes, but right now he has no choice but to destroy his own people financially. He has to, his system was set up, the welfare system. Most Edomites are on that. Most of the people that are on that welfare system are Edomites. And you're going to see more and more of them coming out of the shadows, because now they've been leeching on the system, okay? And clearly that woman said, well, she owed like $22,000. That's because bottom line is she's committing a lot of fraud. And a lot of these Edomites commit fraud. But if the scope has always been on the so-called blacks, Native Americans, Latinos in particular, the so-called blacks here in Great Babylon, America, then they've been able to get away because the scope has not been on them. But see, right now, the Lord is going to judge all wickedness. Okay, this is the book of Job 14 and starting verse 5. Because this is what Esau set up to do. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months with thee, thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. And that's the reason why that bill, that beautiful bill will never work. The MOTB, the mark of the beast, must come to fruition, because it's what Yahweh Shemashai said that would come, because it would try the whole world. And only ones that's going to be able to really to navigate through that is going to be the elect that the Mashiach said that he's going to preserve. Okay? Everybody else is going to have to bow down or die. Plain and simple. It says, turn from him that he may rest till he shall accomplish as a hireling his day. And a hireling is one that does a bidding, or someone that's in authority. And the Lord Yahweh Shemashai is in authority, and Esau, okay, does his bidding. Okay, this is Deuteronomy 28 and 65, because concerning what you see is taking place, okay, which is going to impact these people here, because they're gonna have to pay for that deficit to go down in the form of having benefits taken away. There's Social Security, okay, their health care, all those things. And look at the society of people that are obese, unhealthy. Okay, we know where this is going to lead to. Okay, we know where this is going to lead to. That's civil unrest, Egyptians against Egyptians. But this is also a curse that's coming on their ass, pursuant to Deuteronomy 30 and 7, where those curses be put on our enemies. Okay, and this is what they're experiencing. They're experiencing what we have always been experiencing. Now they're experiencing it. It says, Deuteronomy 28 and 65, it says, and among these nations shall thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy feet have rest. But the Lord Yahweh Shemashai shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. And this is what they're having right now. This is why they're disquiet. There's a lot of disquiet here in Great Babylon, America. Anxiety, worry. Okay? They've never had to deal with it before. And not in modern times. This is Isaiah 24. In Sour Senate reads, the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. There's a crying of a wine in the streets. All joy is darkened, and the mirth of the land is gone. The mirth is gone. So the old days of Great Babylon, America, is just only a memory that's fading away right now. All people are now experiencing is misery. in misery. And as it starts to impact, the different layers of society, which they call class. Okay, you have the lower class, middle class, upper middle class, you're wealthy, you're rich, so forth and so forth. Okay, all there is going to be is what? A lack of mirth, okay, and everything is going to be darkened. Okay, let's close over the book of Proverbs. I'm not going to make this long today. This is Proverbs 16 and 18. It reads, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. These Edomites need to pick up their boots. This is what they used to tell us. They were always proud, and I'm talking to the lower level ones, okay, and the super wealthy and the short callers. Okay, you're proud, but nothing you're doing is working. So you will have no choice but to do the bidding of the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai, which is what? To bring that great wrath on this earth, which is going to be in the form of that MOTB. Okay, all these restrictions that you're going to be bringing about, which is going to eventually lead to World War III, and Mashiach will return, destroy all of you, okay, and set up the heavenly kingdom. And we're looking forward to this. So this has been, there is disquiet in Babylon. Lord willing, the elect was edified at the close by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Shalom.